Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick, and we got ourselves a mailbag pod talking about the 5-1 New York Giants. And it's funny, Justin. You know, we went into this season thinking like, that 4-game stretch after week 6 that's where the Giants can get some wins. Well, guess what? We have 5 wins going into this 4-game stretch. It's a great time to be a New York Giants fan. Justin, how are you?
Yeah, man, we're looking at like playoff odds, and we're looking at the historical stuff of if you start 5-1, the Giants have this percentage of a chance to make the playoffs. I don't want to get too reckless, but I'm getting reckless about it. And not just getting reckless about, this team should do it, but expecting it. Like, let's freaking go. Like, let's gather up. Let's get these 4 games out of the way and, at least take 3 out of 4 of them.
Yeah. Can the Giants lose these games? Yeah, absolutely. But I think we should be favored in all 4 of these games, and we'll talk about that as we go along.
Yeah, there's a little bit of anger with that, which we do have. It's a mailbag pod. We have a mailbag question on that.
Well, the worst, 4-1 team, the worst 5-1 team stuff, like, actually didn't annoy me. It was more just funny. Now I'm like, okay, like, at some point, we do need a little bit of respect. And I think some of the arguments made against the Giants have been put in bad faith. So we'll get into all of that. First, before we get into the mailbag, this episode was brought to you by Luke Perkowski, who has a great old school Jeff Gordon picture. Tom Lago, he's from Key Largo. Matt Kelly, what up, Kelly? Matt Renee. I'm gonna guess this is Reen. I don't think it's Renee. It's Reen Ariel Ruiz. That's my guy. Laird C. Stiefvater. That's real name. And just Ant-Man is another one. That's something. Daniel Wilson. Reminds me of Brian Wilson. Peter Kozma, Kyle Kuzma's brother. And then Stavros Asperu, who I tweeted at the Daniel Jones SMD meme at the comedian Stavros from Baltimore the other day. Justin, who are these people?
Yeah. Patreon.com/TalkingGiants. For $2 a month plus some other tiers. You know what to do. Head on over there, be part of the TG family. Bobby Skinner will send you some stickers, magnets twice a month. You'll have an opportunity to win some shirts off the store and hang out with us while we record the shows live. Did I already say that? I don't know. It also really, for the first time, really made me mad. I know you were mad about this last week. I also got really pissed off. I woke up this morning and I said, crap. I can't freaking believe that there are 3 legitimately good NFC East teams. Like, we'll see what the Cowboys look like when Dak's back, but looking at all the power rankings and seeing how, there was one power ranking that I saw, the Eagles were 1, the Cowboys were 3 or 4, and we were 5. I'm like, these are 3 NFC East teams in a top 5 of a power ranking.
Yeah, 2 years ago, we would have needed 2 more wins for the rest of the season to win the division. And now it's like we're 5-1.
What the
and
hell?
We're a game back in the division. So
now I'm mad about it. Last week I was fine.
I think almost all of our division games are in December. I think both Washington ones and both Philly ones are December and January, and then the Dallas one on Thanksgiving, the last week of November.
There's 4 weeks in a row, 2 of them including Commanders games, which helps. But there's 4 games in a row that are all 4 divisional games.
That's one. Yeah, we got Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, and then Commanders. So, all right, let's get this mailbag rolling. Take it away, Steve.
Mail time.
Mail time.
The mail's here. Come on. Here's the mail. It never fails. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail.
Thanks, Steve from Blues Clues. Justin, let's get into the mail.
Giants Future at Future_Giants. Our friend Liam, he asked, with Evan Neal improving in pass pro and wide receivers starting to create separation, do you think we can finally succeed in a traditional drop back offense?
Absolutely. Now, we're not going to be the best drop back offense in the NFL. We're not going to do traditional drop back 30 times in a game, but absolutely. Evan Neal's improvement is the biggest key to that, I believe. Now that they are playing Darius Slayton and Marcus Johnson, now you have some speed on the field. Not great wide receivers, but speed. And that's, speed is the most important thing playing wide receiver unless you're a slot wide receiver. So now we have speed to be able to attack defenses. Evan Neal's improvement will make that happen, because we can help with protection on the inside. If teams blitz against us, well, we get the ball out quick in the drop back offense. If they drop back and zone coverage or too high and rush 4, well, then you give help to the odd man out, the one who's struggling in pass pro. I do want to temper the Evan Neal improvement a little bit. Like there was real improvement, and that was something I was asking for out of Evan Neal. I wasn't asking for shutdown games, just give me improvement, and he had that in week 6. A lot of that was they started letting him set more vertically, which we obviously talked about on the last podcast. I got a lot of questions about the vertical sets. Maybe I can hit on that later in this question.
Do we have an Evan Neal question?
Do we?
Hold on.
I don't know if we do.
Because I want to. If we don't, then I want to. No, we don't. So let me.
Let me finish this.
Yeah.
Jason Pierre-Paul is washed. Like he looked horrible. Like he looked like the worst pass rusher we faced all this year, and then always not great either. So I do want to I'm not expecting Evan Neal to just dominant from here on out, but I do think the vertical sets will help him out a little bit and help the drop back passing offense.
There's a question that I had for you this morning while I was editing the O-line report, and now, of course, I can't remember it. But I agree with you that I want to temper the expectations a little bit, because you look at the span of the last 3 games, PFF tracks true pass sets, which, at least to me, Bobby, correct me if I'm wrong, that's like not play-action rollouts, like a true pass set where you can actually count it as like a legitimate pass set for Evan Neal, right?
Yes.
Yes, so this past week against Baltimore, Evan Neal had 12 true pass sets, 7 against Green Bay, 4 against Chicago, and then it jumped up to 25 against Dallas, 18 against Carolina, 13 against Tennessee. So while Evan Neal has been showing some improvement the last couple weeks, and especially against Baltimore, I want to see it when it gets up to like 15 plus, when the Giants are kind of running a little bit more drop back conventional passing offense, where maybe they're taking, 15 conventional drop back passing and 15 true pass sets that Evan Neal has, and then above that. But I agree with you that Evan Neal is the biggest piece of it, but there's also some bigger pieces that I want to touch on too. But, here was my question that I forgot about this morning. The first play of the offensive line report, I didn't really pay attention to see if this was the rest of the game. But the first play of the O-line report, it looked like Evan Neal was running more vertical sets, not necessarily just totally vertical, but it was like a mix between the horizontal and vertical, where it just gave Evan Neal a little bit more breathing room. But it looked like the rest of the O-line, in particular Andrew Thomas, because he's the other tackle, it looked like he was still doing the horizontal 45-degree sets. Do you think that's true, that they kind of gave Evan Neal that little room to breathe while Thomas was still doing the horizontal sets?
Yes.
Perfect.
But I think the first play of the O-line report, he did a 45 set. But even in that, like in that 45 set, finally we started seeing Evan Neal like get out of his stance a little quicker.
It's more of a typical kick step. We haven't seen that typical kick step yet this year.
Yeah, but even on like in his aggressive pass sets, he was getting like I did a comparison. Like look at him versus Thomas, and Thomas gets out of his stance quicker than basically anybody in the NFL. Even if you don't think he's the best tackle in the NFL, nobody gets out of their stance quicker than him. And he was right there with Thomas on that. So that's the type of stuff that like that's going to build for it. And he's not going to be perfect. He's going to have bad reps. He's going to give up more sacks this season, but we can operate with him. Other things with the drop back passing offense. It's been our best offense the last week, and we saw some good stuff out of it versus the Packers, even though the play action, two-man routes had a lot of success versus Green Bay.
Yeah, it's frustrating that the Giants' offense is so good on 3rd and long. What are you doing on 3rd and long?
Drop back passing offense.
Yes.
And those were the best plays we saw versus the Ravens this week, but they only kind of did it for the most part on 3rd and long, and there was one time where it was affected, and that was that second third down the game where DJ got hit, thrown it deep to Marcus Johnson, where the O-line didn't hold up, and he wasn't even make that play. But I'm very happy with what the Giants offense is doing. They are very horizontal. They're doing crossing routes and stuff like that. But I also do want to attack let's start attacking vertically a little more. Like those 2 high coverages, let's attack them with a Mills route where you throw a post and then a post on the backside and make these safeties play disciplined football. And if not, then you can get the ball underneath. As we start doing some of these teams are going to start pressing up on the Giants. Well, guess what? That's when Darius Slayton can beat press. That's when even Marcus Johnson can beat press. Hit Wan'Dale Robinson on a little slant if they're going to blitz. So I just think there is potential to have more improvement in the drop back and one is the passing. And DJ's been really good doing that too. We'll talk about Daniel Jones later, but Daniel Jones has been really good the last 4 weeks of the season. So yes, I think that's what it needs for this offense to take a step forward, because also teams are going to start game planning for some of the stuff that we are doing.
Yes.
Like the Ravens, they had their linebackers drop back deep in coverage where the Packers linebackers were a little lost, and it allowed those little intermediate throws off play action.
And I trust this offense to evolve like that, where it is going to continue to keep teams on their toes. And the emergence of Darius Slayton has helped. Marcus Johnson being reliable. Hey, this is a little cleanup note. Signed to the main 53-man roster. I think the Giants had 1 spot that was open. And that was 2 spots. So there's another one that's still open?
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to use it, though.
Yeah, they may not use it because they got to pay. They got to save money, right? But I'm glad that Marcus Johnson was signed to the main 53-man roster. I think he deserved it, and I think it's 100% worth it because he's being relied upon and he is consistent. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is a huge key as well. If he could be started to rely on in terms of getting yards after the catch, running those crossers over the middle of the field, I was happy to see that he was targeted kind of past the sticks this past week. I was expecting Wan'Dale Robinson to come back and kind of be used exactly how Tony was being used, where he was basically just a gadget kind of player and only targeted in the screen game and only being like force-fed the ball. I was really excited to see that Wan'Dale was targeted past the sticks. One of them was a drop, one of them was a key third down conversion, and then he got a touchdown on a little bit of a forced target gadget play, but I don't care, it worked. So Wan'Dale Robinson's also a big key. And David Sills not being on the field. I mean, just look at the splits of David Sills playing a lot of snaps the first 3 games of the season. David Sills not playing a ton of snaps the last couple weeks. And also, when Kenny Golladay gets healthy, he cannot play. He cannot be on the field. And it pains me to say, he cannot be on the field.
Yeah, I agree with that. Which I think might have been my worst take of the offseason was like, Kenny Golladay will be a productive player.
Yeah, it was all of ours. Mine too,
I don't want to play Kenny Golladay. I don't want to play David Sills. I don't want to play Kenny Golladay. If Tony's healthy, play him. But also you're not going to have be relying on him a ton, and any production we get out of him is a bonus for me at this point.
Evan Neal hasn't taken like this drastic step up from weeks 1 to now. Like this Baltimore game was his best game, and we'll see when the competition starts to balance each other out a little bit. You're not going to be going up against Rashawn Gary and Micah Parsons every week, but you're also not going to be going up against a washed JPP every week. So let's see, how it can balance itself out a little bit. But the biggest difference, I think, is just playing Kenny Golladay, David Sills, the majority of the snaps from week 1 to week 3, to now we're playing Darius Slayton, Marcus Johnson, and Wan'Dale Robinson, and Richie James as a backup thrown in there too. Like think about how much better those 4 receivers are versus Kenny Golladay and David Sills.
Yeah, speed has to be accounted for with David Sills. David Sills, I hated it because I hate harping on a guy like David Sills because it's like, well, what did you expect? But we said it's like, playing him is not helping the Giants. I don't care how much stuff he does right. Playing him is not helping the Giants. But I think they will start to introduce. They see what we see. They saw like, hey, on 3rd and long, we were able to get some plays, and let's try and work this a little bit, and let's not be afraid of the sack. Similar to some of the things we said about Jason Garrett, like you can't be afraid of the sack. Like I know that they are drive killers, but you can't be totally afraid of those either. So they've done a lot of good stuff. But hey, they got to grow as a passing offense as well.
Right. But they should also still understand their identity too. Just because we're advocating for more drop back passing, I mean, play action has been working. Daniel Jones, this is from PFF. They do the passing concept splits. 44 completions on 55 attempts. That's an 80% completion rate. 401 yards. That's 7.3 yards per attempt. He has 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. On no play action, even though he has almost double the attempts, he only has 2 passing touchdowns, and the yards per attempt is 6 yards. So that's 1.3 yards per attempt more on play action versus no play action. So they still should use it. And they're using play action 40% of the time versus no play action 60% of the time. They still should definitely use it, but obviously early down efficiency just in general needs to be better on this offense.
Yeah, I'm not saying abandon it. Like, still get into those heavy formations. Saquon's been good. Like his best running in this past week was running out of 13 personnel. So I'm not saying abandons that stuff, but let's open up the drop back. Let's test them on a first down. Instead of waiting till you can't rely on just converting 3rd and longs the way we had the last 2 weeks.
Did you do the passing splits for personnel grouping frequency this past week? I saw that you did it for running.
No.
No, it's Sharp Football Stats used to freaking do that every week, and now they don't. I thought they were throwing the ball much better out of 11 when they actually committed to throwing the ball out of 11.
They were. I'm saying they're running better out of the heavy stuff.
Yeah. So they got to find a balance between the two. How can you run a little bit better out of 11? Because you don't want to become an offense that's a tell. Oh, when you're in 11, we're going to throw it well and not run it well, and then when you're in heavier formations, vice versa. You got to get a little bit more balance in that area too. But we're nitpicking. I love how we're nitpicking right now. Like, this Giants offense, they are an above-average unit right now. They are. And I think there's not a lot of good teams in the NFL right now, which is super fun. I feel like the Eagles are good, the Bills are good, the Chiefs are good. There's 3 really good teams in the NFL. I feel like the rest of the teams in the NFL can kind of be a little fugazi, which I think kind of gets to a question that we have soon. But the Giants offense is an above average offense right now. And what we're saying right now is nitpicking versus last year. It was like big picture, like they just need to get better at flat out everything.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Next question. We've been waiting for 6 weeks to hit this question on the pod. I think it's time.
Patrick Crow at SDMN Crow. Are we at the point where extending Saquon isn't out of the question, or should we just put the tag on him and call it a day?
So it's been 6 weeks. I think it's time we talk about a Saquon Barkley contract. I'm still sticking to what we said on the and I want to talk about Saquon as a whole. And I would approach it of two ways. There's 2 ways I would approach it, Justin, and I think I would be strong in this. Either you go the Le'Veon Bell route, where you're going to franchise tag him until you let him walk. I don't want to do that, but that is an option. It's ruthless. But it's an option you can do. The second one, I was looking at running back contracts. I would give him a Nick Chubb type contract, which is 3 years, $36 million, average annual. So it's not near the Kamara, the Zeke, the Christian McCaffreys.
And front loaded.
And then in the 3rd year, you have a $4 million worth of dead cap and $12 million worth of cap savings. So that's the way, like you said, you front load it a little bit, and I think Nick Chubb he's a leading rusher in the NFL right now. Like, he has more rushing yards per game than Saquon Barkley. He's going on 4 straight 1,000 yard seasons, 5.4 yards per carry. That's the type of level that Saquon back that Saquon's at. So that's where I would be at. Like, I'm not like, so here's what else, like, and I want to see if you agree with me. In the offseason, especially towards the time of free agency when cap was tight and the James Bradbury stuff, I was very strongly in the trade Saquon for not anything. Like, I wouldn't have traded him for a 6th or 7th, but I would have traded him for a 4th round pick. To me, that was a huge L. Like, that's an L to say, like, the 2 years before. And we'll talk about injuries and stuff with Saquon because it has only been 6 games. The injuries, the playing bad behind bad offensive line and stuff, I was just like, he's an unexpiring deal. But I'm at a point now where I like trading him for that would have been an L. What do you think?
As of now, as everything stands right now, yeah, it would be. And I'm not gonna apologize for being a little bit more adamant than you that they should have traded him because, and I'm glad I'm wrong, I did not expect him to be this good. Now you could say, oh, well, he was this good his rookie year. You're wrong. He's better now.
No, he wasn't.
He's better now than what he was his rookie year. And he's not even getting the receiving volume. He's not even getting, he's not getting anywhere near close the receiving volume. I want him to get more receiving volume. They should be using him more as a receiver. I think that can kind of go a little bit to DJ too. It's like, DJ, maybe not looking towards the sideline enough, or I want Saquon Barkley to be lined up as a receiver more. That's a different conversation. But
they've really only used him as a check down, which has been kind of, with all the talking points out of like OTAs, that's kind of been surprising.
Besides the Green Bay 40-yard play, that's it.
And Saquon's not a good route runner. He's a good mismatch.
Right, but I take that.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, I think that might be some of their worries about like splitting him out wide. But you can use him out as the backfield, like up the seams and stuff. So I do think there's more they could do with him in the receiving game.
Yeah. So and he was I don't know, I can't remember if he led the league in scrimmage yards in 2018.
He did.
He's leading it now. He's leading it now, even with the lack of kind of receiving work that he's getting in retrospect to what our expectations were. So I'm not going to apologize for thinking that, because he's just playing at a much higher level than I ever thought. And also, I was looking at the efficiency numbers, the next-gen efficiency numbers before we hopped on here, and he's still like top 5, top 6 in efficiency according to next gen, which measures how much of a north-south runner are you. He's still up there top 10 in rushing yards over expected per attempt, which you've heard me talk about that metric a lot. So, I mean, just the metrics that he's kind of struggled in at certain points in years past, he's just like the best in everything right now. It's not just relying on the amount of volumes that he's getting. Yes, he is leading the league in rushing attempts, but that is not the reason why. It's not the sole reason why he is having such a great season. So I guess Saquon contract future talk, right? The tag is $9.5 million, or at least it was last year. I don't, does it change year to year? Yes, it does. But I think the tag last year was $9.5 million for running backs. He's making like $7.7 million right now. I'm very okay with the tag, but it's just a matter of, would he want to play on a tag? And I would be, part of me, like, if he plays every single game this year, a Nick Chubb type deal, I would be okay with. I would be okay with. It's just so tough, man. It's so tough because you just can't predict these stupid injuries, and it just happens at this position a little bit more.
And that's the thing I am still worried about with Saquon is like one freak injury, man, and we're back in
and
the
it's
same
not
place.
Even about him. It's not even about him. It's just the position.
Yeah. So I've that's been my worry. Is like, please stay healthy throughout this year. Because injuries derailed his career. And again, like to the point, he is a better running back than he was in 2018 and 2019. Like he is getting the tough yards. He is running between the tackles. He's running hard, which in 2018 and 2019, while still an awesome back, was not doing those things. He was very much a boomer bust player. He did not run behind his pads. He danced a lot. Now him playing behind a better offensive line is a part of that, but he's also, it's not just that. Like he is, coaching, maybe, the outside noise got to him to where he is like, letting stuff come to him instead of trying to make the most out of every single play. So, I still am afraid of injury, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, injury. Like I'm not going to say that until it would happen. So the franchise tag is what I would prefer, but I don't know. But I also, like, when I talk about the Nick Chubb deal, like, if Saquon's doing the, like, I want this McCaffrey, blah, 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 type stuff, I would be very stern. Like, this is what, like, if they're not going to try and do the franchise tag, I would be like, this is what we're offering you. If you don't like it, walk. Because Saquon should want to stay in New York. There's, we talk about how Saquon is very marketable and a face of a franchise type of guy. Well, that's good. That's good for both sides. Like, it's good for Saquon Barkley to stay with the New York Giants. So if they do give like an offer like the Nick Chubb, it would be like, hey, this is the offer. Sign it. We're not gonna go above this.
Yeah. And also,
and have the balls to be willing to let him walk if he wants to go and get a max deal. Because I don't think anyone's gonna give him some monster deal either, like in the NFL anymore.
And I also am kind of very relaxed about it right now because I trust that Joe Schoen is going to do the right thing for the New York Football Giants and not have any kind of, oh, I need to do fan service and sign Saquon Barkley. Like, there was fan service with Eli. There was fan service in drafting Saquon Barkley to begin with. There was fan service and overpaying for Nate Solder because you need to protect Eli. There was fan service and all these things that didn't have the best interest of the Giants at heart. It had the best interest of the egos of John Mara, Dave Gettleman saving his own job in his first year, going all in. I trust that Joe Shane's going to do whatever it takes for the future of the New York Giants. And that's that. I trust him with that. And that's why I'm relaxed about this right now.
Right on. Next question. Actually, let's read an ad. We've been going for a while. I will read an ad. SeatGeek. Today's episode is sponsored by SeatGeek. Live events. You know, someone called us out. Like, live events have been back. Can we continue to say they're back? Live events are here, and they've been here for a long time, which means you can get $20 off tickets at SeatGeek with promo code GIANTS. I use it to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars game this weekend. If you don't know what SeatGeek is, they're a ticketing app that makes buying tickets super simple. We've got the apps on our phones. I literally use on my phone. By the way, I've been getting a lot of DMs about tailgates and stuff. I don't know the Jacksonville Stadium. We are not having a tailgate. If you want a tailgate to happen where we can tell people to go and hang out with us, buy a parking pass or something and host it. You know, I'm not saying to get food for everybody, but just give us a place to tell people to go, and you will be a hero. And I think people will bring drinks and everything too. So whether it's football, concerts, basketball, baseball, festivals, or more, SeatGeek puts tickets from all over the web in one place to make buying simple. SeatGeek rates every ticket from 0 to 10 to make sure you are getting a good deal. Green means good, red means bad. Every ticket on SeatGeek is backed by their buyer guarantee, so you can shop for tickets with confidence. Don't worry, we've got the hookup. Use code GIANTS for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with promo code GIANTS. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app.
Where are you sitting with your SeatGeek bought tickets? What section?
I can't remember, but up towards the top.
Up top?
But I made sure we were on the Giants side, so.
Did you, so you sat with me. Was that, no, that wasn't the first time that you obviously sat up top, but you preferred sitting on the, like, down towards the bottom.
No, I think I like it at the top.
Yeah.
You see the field better.
I convinced you with that Eagles game last year,
Well,
didn't I?
here's the thing. The one time I sat towards the bottom was Eli's last game versus the Dolphins, and that was just like, didn't really care about analysis. That was just like an emotional day, and being close to the field was cool for that. But just trying to analyze the game, I like being up top. And the prices.
And the prices. That's why I sit up top. Jose Martinez at DJ Dominitas. Giants open up as a 3.5 underdog against the Jags after defeating Rodgers and Lamar. Thoughts? So this is basically why is Vegas and some other analytics sites like Football Outsiders, why are they still doubting the Giants? Or, you know, how are they still doubting the Giants?
Or just even, you know, commentators in general. I don't like the idea that it's like, oh man, it's been these collapses by other teams. Here's something that annoys the crap out of the people. I think people are just like, unless you are just like dazzling, like you're not a good, like it's not good. Like defense, can we give teams credit for having good defenses?
Well, here's the thing. Here's the mind-boggling thing, Bobby. I like Football Outsiders. I like DVOA. They have the Giants defense ranked 30th. They are the third worst defense in DVOA's eyes. I don't know how. I don't know why. I tried getting an answer today. I tried thinking of things. Like, does it boil down to that they're bad on early downs, but then does being good on third down not mean anything? Does not allowing explosive plays mean anything? Does not allowing touchdowns versus field goals mean anything? I don't know why. So it's not just like, Vegas, they use numbers, and Vegas is like right about a lot of stuff. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's like we're the number 5 third down defense in the NFL. That's because of the way Wink Martindale coaches defense. Like, coaching is a big part of this league. And I feel like because the Giants weren't picked to be, and again, I'm not saying like they're Super Bowl contenders or anything, but like the Giants aren't winning off flukes. Like, the only thing that you can point to is essentially the Lamar throwing that interception. But guess what? It's not like we're living off of these crazy interceptions. That was our first interception of the year. So God forbid we have one QB make a bad decision and it helped the Giants. You know, so it's not like they're getting like, like these crazy living off of turnovers, and, the offense is pounding the ball in off those turnovers. Like, the offense is getting the scoring off long drives. The defense is not creating turnovers. they're like, our running game is good. Let's not minimize what the running game does. We have the leading rusher one of the leading rushers in the NFL. We're not running these trick plays or having these fluke big plays on offense. Like, it's been methodical and stuff. Daniel Jones is ascending these last 4 weeks. Like, the only two things that you could say that are like just like fluky is, again, that Lamar interception, which I'm not going to apologize for one QB putting the ball in our defense hands, because it hasn't happened all year. And then the Titans missed field goal, but teams miss field goals every single freaking week. They just miss it at the end of a game. And that was the first game where the offense started slow. Like, if we just played the Titans right now, I would feel better about that matchup.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the Giants' defense allowed, like, 3 different players. They allowed 20-yard gains through the air, which they have not done that. I mean, Dallas, there were 2 different receivers that caught 20-plus yards. Green Bay, Randall Cobb had one, and there wasn't a single receiver last week for the Ravens that caught a pass over 20-plus yards. Their run defense has been bad on a volume and efficiency basis, but again, like, if you're stopping the pass and if you're stopping the explosive pass play, the big gushes on the ground against the Ravens were not good. But I don't care if your run defense is like not that great. If you're stopping the pass and you're holding teams to field goals, I don't care. And also, like you said,
we've also played some great rushing teams as well too.
Yes, well, yeah, the Ravens, the Packers, the Titans,
Cowboys, the Titans, the Panthers aren't a great rushing team, but they have Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. So the
Bears.
I'm saying I don't know over and over and over again. I don't know. And the Giants' skill position players are getting better. We talked about it towards the beginning. I would go to war right now with Marcus Johnson, Darius Slayton, Wando Robinson, Richie James, especially compared to what we had week 1, or what we were choosing to use week 1.
Yeah, so again, this isn't like some argument like the Giants are a Super Bowl contender. Look at their record; they're 5-1. But I don't think their record is a fluke. Like, they have made great adjustments in game. Like, Aaron Rodgers didn't just choke. Like, we played good defense. We adjusted to it. We stacked the box in the second half. Like, we played Lamar Jackson well. We got pressure on him. We blitzed him. We forced him to have to make like inaccurate throws because he was under pressure. The Titans, we stopped what they tried. We stopped what they do, which is run the ball. We stopped them from doing that. The Panthers, we only beat them by 3 points, but we're a better team than them. The Bears, that game was only close because we didn't have a quarterback for, essentially a quarter and a half. Like, I fully believe we would have, like, we coached well against them and played well against them. So I don't like that these wins aren't fluky. And one Lamar interception is not going to make me be like, oh, see, they've just been winning off meltdowns. Like, these comebacks haven't been meltdown built. They've been Daniel Jones, and the Giants offense and the Giants defense adjusting throughout the game built.
Yeah, the only thing fluky about that Lamar play was that he dropped the snap. That was the only thing fluky about that. Julian Love baited him. Thank God Julian Love baited him, because O'Shane Ximines definitely wasn't coming down with that interception. So, yeah, and the only thing that I could think of is to being 3.5-point underdogs against the Jaguars. We're away, so the home team always gets three points. And then basically on an EPA basis, the Giants offense and the Jaguars offense are nearly identical, but their defense is like a tier better. We'll talk about that on Friday as to why. We'll look at who the Jaguars have played, the results so far, because certainly there's some discussions to be had there.
All right, next question.
Next question. Mr. Chicken, our friend, Patreon member. So we're going to change this into a besides Andrew Thomas question. So besides Andrew Thomas, if you could extend any player on the current roster, who would it be?
Yeah, we changed it to besides Andrew Thomas because that's easy. Like, Andrew Thomas is the one player on the team where I'm like, make him the highest paid at his position, and I will not blink at it even 1 second. This is really tough. There's a lot of guys, and we only did this guys who are eligible for it. So you have Dexter Lawrence, Leonard Williams could be one, Xavier McKinney can be extended the year, and then Saquon and then Daniel Jones.
There's some other guys.
Those were the names that can. What other guy, like Julian Love or somebody like that?
Yeah, well,
I considered guys that would get bigger contracts, like close, like more or close to like $10 million average annual value type guys.
Okay. Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind just because of how affordable he is Julian Love. Like, Julian Love should be, like, he should be here. Good teams have players like Julian Love on their roster. Homegrown guys. So we've talked about how the Giants haven't been able to keep their homegrown guys in-house. Julian Love is a homegrown guy that you feel good about, that you can keep because he's not this superstar player, but he's, like, awesome at what he does. So Julian Love was the first guy that came to mind for me.
So I wanted to say Dexter Lawrence, but I also don't want to, like, extend him off of a career year as well, too, you know? But I also think, like, extending him in the offseason would be a good idea, depending on what the defensive tackle market is. I'm going to say Xavier McKinney, because we'll talk more in depth about McKinney on a later question, but he still is really good. But he's not going to have the stats that he had last year this season, but still be a very important player. Safety contracts aren't huge. I would try and get McKinney done before he hits free agency.
Yeah, there's still time for that, though. I mean,
well, he would
2020
next year would
class.
be his last year of the contract.
Oh yeah, he wasn't a first-round pick,
Yeah,
right?
he's a second-round pick.
Okay.
So I would take advantage of McKinney not having the statistical success that he had last year, and we'll talk about why that doesn't bother me in a later question. And I think you can get him for a reasonable deal. He wants to be a Giant for a while. I would try and get McKinney locked up, but I think there's a lot. I think there's a good case, like you mentioned, Julian Love, for like 5 or 6 guys to be extended, which has not happened since Sterling Shepard for a Giants draft pick.
You know who I thought of too? I mean, he has a void year in 2024, but I thought of Adoree Jackson. I don't know if that makes sense, that the fact that they did restructure him and they gave him the void year, so I don't know if that makes sense to extend him. I don't know if that move indicates that they're not going to give him a contract extension, and last year is his last year. But dude, Adoree's good, man. He's good.
Yeah,
he's
been
27.
Really good. Yeah, he was young. And the Titans declining his option helped us with that. So yeah. All right, next question about Daniel Jones, but first I want you to read an ad.
Sure. We got to talk about BetterHelp. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. We know how important mental health is in our world in general today. It's also important in the sports world, from athletes taking time off to tend to their mental health issues to the everyday importance of being focused and in the zone. I find it. I gotta stay in the zone a little bit here. Working on some JM football stuff. How can I stay locked into what we got to do, all the things that we got going on, and I got to make sure that my mental health is in line and I got a good balance in my life. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, accessible, affordable, and entirely online. Get matched up with the therapist after filling out a brief survey and switch therapists anytime. That's one of my favorite capabilities of BetterHelp, is that if you don't like somebody that you're talking with, you can switch at any time. There's no need to have any kind of awkward conversations either. When you're ready to feel at the top of your mental health game, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/TalkinGiants today. Get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/TalkinGiants. You'll be glad you did. The Manscaped ad, I think we forgot to say it. There was an ad recently that we forgot to say. You'll be glad you did.
I forgot on the SeatGeek. You'll be glad you did.
Oh crap! So we got a comment that said outraged that we didn't get a "You'll be glad you did."
Well, you'll be glad you did. All right, next question.
Next question. We're kind of just do a little bit of a Daniel Jones talk, but Tristan Ricker asked at Tristan Ricker 2, what would our record be if Daniel Jones wasn't the starter? So I guess we're just gonna do a little bit of Daniel Jones talk.
Yeah, the record I would probably say 3-3. I do think you win the first 2 games of the year, and I think you probably beat Chicago, but not a guarantee. But I just want to talk about Daniel Jones. He's operating this offense essentially flawlessly these last 4 weeks. There's mistakes in every game by quarterbacks. Whether it's like I think the last 2 weeks there's been 2 times where I'm like, he should have made this throw, he didn't make this throw. And then a couple plays where it's like the accuracy could have been a little better, but still in guys' hands. Like the Wan'Dale Robinson drop, that could have been a better throw. And then missing Darius Slayton versus the Packers. But overall, like he's been operating this offense really well. I've been impressed. He's not, and again, we're just like, well, he's not throwing the ball deep. Well, he's not passing up deep throws either. They're not running the offense like that. So like he's going through his progressions, the accuracies well. He's been manipulating the pocket a lot better. Where the first 2 weeks he just looked super uncomfortable. I basically wanted to say like I've been pretty damn happy with Daniel Jones the last 4 weeks, and he's been put in bad situations on 3rd and long. I think he's done pretty much everything he's been asked to do.
And he's not being asked to throw the ball a ton either. We talked about how Saquon Barkley leads the league in rushing attempts, and Daniel Jones has 159 passing attempts. To put this in retrospect, Saquon Barkley has 117 rushing attempts. Daniel Jones has 107 completions on the year, which, by the way, he has a career high as of right now, 67.3 completion rate. Like I said, Saquon Barkley has 117 rushing attempts. So there's 10 more rushing attempts that this team has than completions. And that's not because Daniel Jones is not completing the ball. He's completing the ball at almost a 70% clip. So he is doing everything that he is being asked to do. And one thing that I want to talk about is over the last 3 weeks on an EPA per dropback basis, Daniel Jones has been the most efficient and the best QB in the NFL. And then especially when you look at the second half over the last 3 weeks, quarters 3 and 4, Daniel Jones is the most efficient and one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the National Football League over the last 3 weeks in the second half. And there is a wide margin on that chart and on that graph. So, and I feel like they've started to introduce a little bit more drop back conventional passing. And I think especially the last 2 weeks against Green Bay and against Baltimore, those 2 weeks are really helping him, boosting up those EPA totals. So since we had a kind of Daniel Jones future conversation, he's doing better, much better.
Yeah, he's 24th in attempts per game. Yeah, and that's the thing. In the fourth quarter, he's been huge. And whenever he's been put in these tough situations on 3rd and long, and like he's been really good. Like the only negative you can say about Daniel Jones these last 4 weeks is that, well, maybe they're scheming an offense like built around him that, they're not going to be able to do things that they want to do offensively. But at the same time, it's like, I think it has more to do with wide receiver, offensive line issues than Daniel Jones, because we know Daniel Jones can put the ball downfield. Like we've seen him do it very well, the first 3 years of his career. Now he can't do what Josh Allen, Mahomes, and Herbert do, but again, I refuse to grade at quarterbacks against that standard, unless you are flat out drafting somebody. Like if you're talking about the draft, maybe.
But if you're playing like him, that's a pretty. If you're playing like him over the last 3 weeks. That's a pretty good benchmark to kind of be by. And it really, now it really just hit me. If you really want to find out if Daniel Jones can be the future, can be here, what kind of deal does he deserve? Does he deserve the franchise tag or not? I'm rooting for Evan Neal more than ever. Rooting for Evan Neal more than ever. Because like you said in the beginning, and I do agree with you, I think the future of the offense in terms of how they can open the playbook or if they have to continue to kind of scheme around it, the future of how Evan Neal plays for the rest of the season does depend on kind of Daniel Jones's future.
Yeah, because at some point you got to operate a drop back offense. So I just wanted to talk about Daniel Jones, not like long-term conversation stuff with him, but just I've been pretty damn happy watching him the last few weeks.
Awesome.
Next question.
Shane at Shane_Baldman. Who is your biggest surprise player on offense and defense?
We'll go through this quick. Offense, who is it for you?
Ben Bredeson.
Yeah, that's my answer too. He's been the best interior offensive lineman. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, this guy's a future piece. We got a guy here. Because he's had bad games too. Versus the Titans in Green Bay, he struggled pretty badly. But like he's done his job. He has not been a liability in the majority of the season. And honestly, on the offense, you really can't. There's not many other candidates. Like
Marcus
maybe
Johnson.
You see, I don't even count. Like I'm not going to get a guy that's had 4 catches and a drop as most surprised. Like you could maybe even like if you want to get cute, you could say Saquon, or like like for Daniel Jones, like I also don't think Daniel Jones is playing at some much better level than he has in past years of his career either, Justin.
No.
I think he's playing in a much better scheme, and that's why, me and you wanted to, fire Jason Garrett personally. Like, and it's why, I mean, there has not, like, I hated Jason Garrett more than I did Dave Kettleman. Like, that's how bad I think the scheme was. Like, I don't think he's this whole new player. It's like, no, I just think he's been finally given some decent surround, like a decent, like, infrastructure with offense, offensive scheme. Like, still has bad wide receivers, bad offensive line for the most part,
But you're in year 4
and a good running game.
But you're in year 4, and if we're gonna end the year saying, well, you can't tell about Daniel Jones because of this, because of that.
I think he's played like a pretty good quarterback. Nothing special.
He has.
And again, we talked about it with like I hate turning into this a long-term conversation, but we said what's one thing that he has to do, and we're like win. Like it's because force the Giants' hands, and he's been doing that.
Yeah, I hate
8-3 out of his last 11 games. How about that?
And I love that there's a bunch of new people, and I love that the show's growing, but I also hate that so many people weren't part of the tirade that we were on for 2 years straight. The absolute tirade. And there were times where we felt crazy, especially like in 2020. Like we felt crazy because everything, Joe Judge was new and everything was new and the defense was all right. We felt crazy at times saying that Jason Garrett needs to be launched into the sun. And we said that literally for 2 years straight.
Oh, the bye week. Remember, I spent 10 days in a row working on a 30-minute video to explain how Jason Garrett was bad. And I literally, one of my favorite YouTube comments we ever got was like, because it was someone who's kind of an optimist, or an optometrist, like Ricky would say. He's like, every time I had a rebuttal, he's like, you answered it. Because I was sick of those rebuttals, and I was like, I'm going to have an answer for every single excuse Jason Garrett. I don't know what we're even doing right now. But basically, the scheme is better, and Daniel Jones is playing well within the scheme.
I'm doing what I hate, which is making an argument based on comments that we get on YouTube. But we get comments that we don't like Daniel Jones. We don't like Daniel Jones. It's like, no, we literally outwardly defended Daniel Jones the last 2 years by saying that Garrett should be launched into the sun and that he deserves much better, and he's getting it. And that's what, by saying that, I feel like Daniel Jones isn't playing much higher than the level that he has the last couple years. That's not a slight to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones has played well. The scheme
is making it look better.
Yes, Daniel Jones has played well despite of everything else going wrong around him, and now he's playing kind of in a similar way despite a lot going right around him, which is awesome. Biggest surprise on defense?
I would say Jihad Ward. Like, he's not giving you anything in pass rush production, but he's really good versus the run. Like, he's better. Like, Jacksonville, I think, just misused him. But even with Baltimore and Wink in 2020, like, he wasn't making this type of impact for them, and there's a reason why this guy has been a vet min, the last couple of years. He has been a key force against the run.
Yeah, I will agree with you. Yes.
All right, next question.
Next question is coming from SportsCG at SportsCG247. Hey guys, what's your assessment on the type of season Xavier McKinney is having? There was some chatter about him coming into the season, that he's going to become an all-pro type of player. But I think Julian Love has been our best safety so far. So thoughts on Xavier McKinney, and then also, I guess, thoughts on Julian Love.
We kind of predicted this with McKinney. It's like he's still going to be a really good player, but he's not going to get the stats this year. And it's just, that is the case. Like, he is playing in a totally different role than what he did last year. One, he's being put in a position of where he's being avoided. Like, offenses are avoiding him. And I hate using coverage stats for safeties to judge them, but I do think it's a good barometer of, like, how they're being used. So right now, coverage stats, he's been targeted 16 times, 8 completions, 101 yards. So on a 17-game rate, that's 22 for 44, 286 yards. That's 16 less completions, 12 less attempts, and 160 less yards that he would have allowed
compared to last season.
Compared to last year, where he played awesome last year, right?
Yeah, and he played that too high system too, which is, yeah.
Yeah, so that's been the biggest difference, is the system that he plays in. When with Patrick Graham's assistant, it allowed him to, one, he's playing a half part of the field, not playing, that center field. and it allows them to take advantage of mistakes made by quarterbacks and be aggressive and play up. And the quarterback makes it like it just breeds more turnovers. What Patrick Graham did, where this year we have 1 interception in 6 games. Last year we were getting interceptions essentially every single week, for the most part. And Xavier McKinney was a big part of that. And he's playing in that single high where teams avoid the single high safety. Like the single high safety goes one way, you go the other way. And we're not being beat deep really at all either. So I think that he's playing in the box more. He's playing in the box 35% compared to 15% last year. Playing deep 53% compared to 71% last year. So I just think it's more about the system. Like he's doing good in what his role is. You put him on Christian McCaffrey week 2. Thrived in that. He's made a few mistakes, like that Mercedes Lewis touchdown was on him, but I'm not going to freak out on a 1 yard, smoke and mirrors touchdown from the Packers. And a couple other mistakes here and there, but nothing glaring. He's just being avoided, and he's doing his job very well. And he's the quarterback of the defense with the green dot, and guys have been in place and doing well, besides the 10-man on the field thing.
Yeah, besides 10 men on the field, but I don't exactly know who deserves fault for that. What about Julian Love?
Oh, yes. Julian Love has been good, but he gets a more impact role where like he's put in man coverage, like he's only playing deep. Yeah, he's playing deep 36% of the time, and half of those times it's in those when they do go to too high, which is not as very often. And even when they do go to too high, a lot of times they're still in man coverage, and they'll let Julian Love crash down and be like the robber underneath. And McKinney is back. Even though they're starting to snap too high, he's playing single high safety. So he's made some, but I thought this pass game was his best game. Like he had that pass deflection where he got beat on the double move and recovered in the end zone. That 3rd and goal at the 5 on the drag route by Isaiah Likely, breaking up that pass was good. And then obviously the interception, and he's had good box reps as well. So I think Julian Love's played pretty damn good. But Xavier McKinney is clearly better to me than
nothing related to the mailbag right now. Can I tell you a tweet that I just saw?
Are we reading dumb tweets?
Yeah, this is a reading dumb tweet segue right now. Austin Gale, who I like. He quote tweeted the Ben Baldwin's market derived team tiers, where the Giants are in the bottom tier category of watching college QBs. Austin Gale, the most overvalued / blinding stat in determining team strength is regular season wins. More than 20 teams would still be favored over the Jets and Giants on a neutral field. And then in a reply, he said the Raiders are 1-4, but still ranked 15th in market-derived power ratings because their team is good and wins are volatile. Wins don't matter anymore.
I've seen that take a lot, but like people are like wins are deceiving. It's like what are we doing here?
Okay, like, you can believe that like from a front office perspective, but you can't tell me that being 5-1 means just as much as the Raiders being 1-4 just because they have a better team.
Through the first 4 games, you could say that we just beat the last 3 MVPs we have beaten the back-to-back weeks. Like the Ravens lost to the Dolphins. They choked that game, but the Dolphins were 3-0 at the point they had beat the Bills, and then Tua got hurt, and then they lost to the Bills. They barely lost to the Bills, who are the best team in the NFL.
Wins don't mean anything.
Actually, not next question. This episode is brought to you by DraftKings. NBA fans, the wait is over. What's up? It's hard to get into NBA this early in the season when, at least for me, with the work I'm doing. Basketball is back, so tip off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA moneyline bet and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Nets are going to the championship. All you Knicks fans in the comments, shut your mouth. Everyone, check this out. In addition to the usual bets, everyone can boost their winnings up to 100% with DraftKings stepped-up same-game parlays. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a stepped-up same-game parlay today. With payouts bigger than ever, DraftKings Sportsbook is where I go to bet on the NBA. What matchups? The Nets versus the world. How about that? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code JOHNBOY. Make any $5 bet this week and get $200 in free bets if your team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with promo code JOHNBOY. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. Justin, next question.
You believe in Ben Simmons?
Oh no, I am. I don't actually really believe in the Nets a ton this year. We still have a chance at a title. Like I still, my expectation for the team is a title. But yeah, Ben Simmons. So I am not as I follow a lot of Nets fans who are like they are the way I am with the Giants. Nets are still my second team, but I see them convincing themselves of Ben Simmons, and I'm just waiting for him to let me down. Like I have no. I get this is the best position for him because he's the third. Like he's not going to be a top 2 player on the team with Kyrie and KD, and we need his defense. In a vacuum, I can see it being it's an awesome fit, but it's I just don't trust Ben Simmons at all. So
here's my simpleton reasoning: in a league that's about scoring points, Ben Simmons doesn't do that very well.
And he missed. I shoot free throws at a better rate than he did the last time he played basketball.
He's a point guard. Okay, Lemon at JLemon66. I feel like Dane Belton has been on the field for 80% of the snaps. What are your thoughts on the rookie so far?
I want to go quick because we're hitting an hour. He's played over 70% of the snaps in 3 of the 5 games. I think his best thing that he's been good at, man coverage on tight ends, and that's what we said about him in the draft. It's he's didn't play a ton of deep at Iowa.
Yep.
I don't think he fits. He does struggle a little in the box playing the run. McKinney and Love are worlds better than him playing in the box versus the run.
He's come up and made some good plays though in the run.
Yeah, he has, but it hasn't been anything like look at this wow play. It's just kind of doing his role. But he's nowhere near playing that as McKinney and Love. Where he's been best, which is what we said out of the draft, is he covered slot wide receivers in college. Not going to cover slot wide receivers in the NFL, but he can cover tight ends. And I think he's been pretty damn good manning up versus tight ends this year. He's made some mistakes. He's been a little over aggressive at times when they're running those too high coverages. But I've been happy with Belton. He's been good in man on tight ends.
Yeah, Dane Belton was one of my least favorite draft picks besides, I guess, DJ Davidson, just because I didn't see a lot. There's nothing really get me excited, but I've been eating my words so far. Now there's been no play that's gotten me overly excited, ooh, look at Dane Belton here. But the fact that he hasn't been a disaster, and I think he's being asked to do a couple different things, and he's been solid at it. So I'm kind of eating my words with that draft pick right now.
All right, next question.
Nick Doherty at new_kid98. Will Bobby and Julian be up for the parade in January? Well, technically, why are we celebrating? Well, I was going to say
no because it's going to be in February.
Yeah, why are we celebrating in January? Yeah, February.
You don't, Justin. You don't understand how much I've been fantasizing about playoff talking Giants. It's been a lot. I
can't even wrap my head around it.
I can't believe it's going to happen. We did it. I'm so excited for talking Giants playoffs. Literally, I will not have been more excited for an entire day since the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, not even...
I might kill somebody in the John Boy Media office that day.
Not even 2016 Green Bay, because it's we have no offense.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I was still we have Eli. We've got a shot for that, so I wasn't as dismissive as them. And I wanted to, pull an Odell and punch a hole in the wall after that game. I was actually living with a friend, and he had a kid, and he was asking me questions, and I was it was the first time where I was why don't you just shut up? Shut up. So don't get me wrong, I still went into that playoffs we got a shot, we got Eli.
Kevin from the social media team, he'd be a good person punch.
He's one of my favorite John Boy Media employees.
He'd enjoy it. I mean, that's partially why.
I'm hoping now that we have Yankees, Astros, ALCS, that maybe I'll hit up Jim and Jake with permission to be the company pitbull.
Do it.
All right, that's the mailbag. We will be back on Friday for a preview pod talking about the Jaguars. How about that? We appreciate you guys. We will be back then. Until then, let's go Big Blue.